Andy here with the Progressive Conservative Podcast. Welcome back. So I felt compelled to put a video out. Don't really have a script. Just have some points in my mind. This is really impromptu. And it's related to the horrific accident, the mid-air collision that happened in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday, January 29th. Now, obviously, you heard a Black Hawk helicopter manned by the United States Army collided with an American Airlines commuter jet that was flying from Wichita, Kansas. 67 people perished. God speed their souls. Also, prayers and condolences to the family, friends, and acquaintances who, had a stake in these souls that are no longer with us. Now, that evening, I heard that news. Didn't really know all the facts. But I did think, I hope the next day I don't hear some sort of divisive rhetoric coming from our president or a surrogate. Just a little bit more than 12 hours later, I heard the news that Donald Trump made a comment about how the Federal Aviation Administration, or the FAA, had these diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, initiatives. And the whole rhetoric behind DEI is it degrades the talent in the workplace. It's giving opportunities for less qualified people because of their race or gender or disability versus someone who can actually is capable of doing the job that might not fit those parameters. But then also did say he didn't have the facts to say that really happened or that was really true. So I'll give him that part at least, but why did you mention that in the first place? This was a tragedy that they hadn't even gotten the black boxes yet, and we're already talking about DEI. Now, I think that's a little bit irresponsible. Now, Joe Biden, if this was under Joe Biden's administration, 9 days in, 900 days in, it doesn't really matter. Joe Biden, I would expect, as president, as my president of the United States, to take responsibility. This isn't about left or right anymore. This is about America and coming together and taking responsibility for tragedies like this. Your helicopter, Donald Trump, that you're the commander in chief of, who operated that, ran into a private civilian aircraft. Okay. The government got in the way of people's lives. Okay. We all hear about this, about how I'm here with the government, I'm here to help, but really they aren't. We heard that under Ronald Reagan.
I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
You have to take a little bit of responsibility. Now, I get that's not apples to apples between what Ronald Reagan was saying about I'm from the government, I'm here to help, and making a point about how they aren't really there to help. But you have to understand the government caused this to happen. It wasn't the air traffic controllers. It was that helicopter. That's what I see, at least from the video. Now, I'm a casual observer. I have my free speech. You also have yours, and you can come to your own conclusion, and we can debate that, and that's fine. That's America. Let's respect each other. But Donald Trump, please, you're the leader of the free world. Please take responsibility. Now, I want to talk a little bit in depth about the air traffic controllers. Now, I had a really cool experience when I was in college. I knew a guy, and I won't really get into detail of what it was, but he owned a 8-seater Cessna plane. And he also ran a flight instructor business. And I had an opportunity to go to an event into Canada. I was going to school in the Duluth, Minnesota area. And about a 2-hour flight, went to a small town in Ontario. And during that flight, there was this student who wanted to get flight hours to get their pilot's license. And it was a good deal for him because we were chipping in some money. I paid $50 to go up there back in the late 90s. And probably got a little bit of deal on his flight hours because we're kind of throwing a bunch of money in the pot to get up to this event. And I got to put one of those cool, David and Clark headsets on. And you could talk to each other. They had the microphone, but you also could hear the air traffic control chatter. And when I heard that chatter, I kind of understood how that operation worked. You had the air traffic control on the ground. You heard those people, but then you're handed off to people that, basically kind of patrol, kind of like the interstates. You drive the rural interstates. It's like the air traffic controllers of like the rural interstates. And they had this passion in their voice. And the way that the pilot, that plane was talking to them and then the air traffic controller was talking back was really cool. I was really impressed by that. The professionalism, the vibe that was kind of going on in that moment. And I like I said, that almost made me think that maybe I should be an air traffic controller. Now, that experience I had was really cool. What happens if somebody, let's say, comes from the inner city, has the same opportunity that comes up? Same thing with someone needs to get their hours to get their pilot's license, and there's 6 more seats on the plane, and you go to some events and you maybe chip in a little bit of money. And so overall, everybody, is winning in that situation. And let's say that happened for someone in the inner city. Maybe they're very black. Maybe they're a woman. Maybe they have a disability of some sort. Maybe they would fit that DEI category we keep hearing about. And let's say they put those David and Clark's on, really cool headphones, and they hear that same vibe I heard. And they're like, wow, I mean, I just feel so great to like that, just that whole, all that interaction, that vibe. I really want to be part of that. And in that formidable time growing up, you're like, you know what? I want to be an air traffic controller. Take a guy from the suburbs, an affluent suburb, has a neighbor down the street, has an airplane at a local hangar. Maybe one weekend takes their family out, and you get to put those David and Clark's back on again. You hear the same chatter like I heard, that vibe in the sky. And you're like, wow, I really want to be an air traffic controller too. And let's just say both those people went to academy, because you got to go to an academy. Then you got to do training, and you got to prove your worth. From what I understand, that's the process of getting to being an air traffic controller, a full-fledged one where you're not, kind of a rookie or a trainee or apprentice. And let's say both of those people sit next to each other. And one looks at one another. One's a preppy guy. One's from the inner city. You can totally tell their features, the way they hold themselves. Maybe that's kind of where they come from. And you hold these preconceived notions. And maybe something just irritates you about, your preconceived notions. And maybe both of them have those notions about each other. Now, are we just going to seethe at each other all day on the job? I mean, after all, we spend probably more time. A lot of people spend more time away from their spouses at their jobs than they're with their spouses. So you want to think, like, you want to really be angry at somebody that you're working with to try to get a common goal to keep people safe in the skies and on the ground, depending on the type of job that you have with the FAA. Now, what's come into play in the more recent years is called DEI, or diversity, equity, inclusion. And I get if it's pointing out somebody that's maybe a 60 points on the ability scale, and because they're DEI, they get 20 bonus points, and someone has 70 points on the aptitude scale, but they aren't the DEI bucket, and they don't get the job. Yes, let's fix that. But DEI goes more than just hiring. It goes deep and dives into someone's perspectives, in their backgrounds, who they are, what experiences they had, maybe what foods they ate. I mean, you might find amazing things about people you never even know just because you judge a book by its cover. But by, opening people up to kind of different ways of thinking. And we have different ways of thinking when you can respect one another. The job gets done. The job gets done well. And then not only that, if you're seething at each other and not having, any understanding, and you hate each other because you just have this preconceived notion of one another, then you go home to your spouses that you spend less time than you are in your job, then you're mad at them for some reason, all that's going to carry over. But if you can come to work where maybe it isn't, maybe, yes, it isn't quite the job I want to have, but then at least I can tolerate the people, then you go home, you can tolerate your loved ones and so forth. Maybe that's just a better life experience for you. And let's just not throw out DEI just because less qualified people get hired. I don't know if that's true. It sounds like an innuendo to me, but if it is true, yes, I would love to hear about it, and I'd love to find ways to solve that problem. Now, back to Donald Trump. He also blamed Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, and I was just wondering, like, there's a blank there somewhere that there was Barack Obama, there was something between Obama and Biden. Who was that? Oh, it was you, Donald Trump. So what did you do in your first term? And not only that, you had 4 years to know what the FAA does. If it really was 9 days into your next term, wouldn't you have known how to make sure operations ran, basically are running smoothly? So as the leader of the free world, Donald Trump, like, I want America to succeed. But we also need to be able to take responsibility. Like I said, Joe Biden got thumped with inflation and immigration. But you know what? He's not president anymore. You're the president. As an American, I hope that you can at least find some common ground. Yes, you have your free speech. Yes, you have your free expression. I have mine as well. Please respect that. But please, Donald Trump, please take responsibility and let's bring America together, not divide us apart. This is not politically correct. This is progressive conservative. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you made it this far, could you hit the like button, subscribe, or share? In my next video, I want to talk about the pardons, not only Donald Trump issued, but also Joe Biden. I really came across something that was really intriguing to me that I think I want to get out there and share with you all. So hit the bell notification just to get notified when that comes out. But other than that, take care and have a great one. We'll see you on the next one.